Unbelievable. Is that alright?
You're doing great, mate. How are you finding it?
Fine. It's nice to rip into Pete.
Yeah. Oh, don't worry, we're not done.
I mean, you need to mention the general managers because I didn't mention at any point to you.
No, I will. But also, I'm going to talk now. Now it's going to be the demise. Okay.
Are you going to mention One Last Dance?
Yeah.
Gosh, I've got something more to talk about then. So my part for this documentary is 2 hours long at the moment. So it can be easily another half an hour.
Yeah.
Yours is 1.
Yeah.
But I've got so much more to say.
Right. Because from what we've got the aftermath of the demise. We've got recall to talk about, the general managers, and then the future.
Okay. There's 90 minutes of recording time left. Of battery time. Sorry.
Okay. So now start talking about how after addiction it started to go downhill and UBW eventually disbanded. What was it at the time that you think made it that way, and was there any hope of bringing it back? And then talk about the reunion show and what led to that.
So once addiction had been and gone and Extreme Dave had his farewell match with Danny Ace, I think I came away from the taping just going, I think that's it. Because, I say, Dave saying that he didn't want to do it anymore had properly taken the wind out of my sails regarding UBW. And, in my opinion, I think it was all down to me and Pete. Is that me and Pete just could not get along at this point. Me and Pete are polar opposite personalities. And I think nowadays this isn't the case, but I think Pete was very immature back then. And I was 10 years older than Pete. So I saw things from a very different light. Now looking at it now, through Pete's married, he's got children. I'm sure he would look at how he was back then probably in the same light that I looked at it at the time. But I think that it was all on me and Pete. I think we just couldn't get along. We argued about everything. So basically I said, look, if you want to do this, do it. But you go and do it on your own. So as far as I know, Pete and Johnny and maybe the TVW guys, maybe K-Bar even tried to do a salvation so that they could do their bit and then tack it on to the Danny Ace Extreme Dave match. But I think, without bigging up my own horn, it's one of those, I don't think they could do it. They didn't have the cameras or they couldn't edit it or something. I know they met up, I know that for a fact, but I didn't go. And basically that was that really. It was one of those, we just always like, no more, can't do anymore, don't want to do anymore, do not want to meet up with these people. And that lasted that was in the February, March. So that lasted until about the late summer or the autumn. And it was one of those, I got drunk once and started talking to people online saying, come on, let's fucking do a reunion. And then the idea went away. And then other people brought up the idea of a reunion. I was just like, I'll do filming for you, I'll do reffing for you, but I don't want to get in the ring. I was done. I was completely done. And then the idea came up to do One Last Dance, and it was one of those, come on, let's just do it. Let's do, for a year removed from addiction, let's just do one more show. And, and that we'll call it quits. And so it was like, okay, fair enough, but I don't want to wrestle on it. And it was like, no, we need to. I was like, no, I don't want to wrestle on it at all. And then we got in touch with Dave, and Dave point blankly said, I'm not interested. Matt Carnage wasn't interested at all in doing it. Crusher J wasn't interested in doing it. So it was one of those, half the roster don't want to do it anyway. But then I was talked round by Danny that we would have a match, and he promised me I'd get loads of offence, and it was one of those, yeah, that went well, didn't it? So we had a 3-match card was assembled. Of course, because we didn't have the pressure of doing recalls, it was just like, let's just do 3 matches. UBW roster took all day to fucking do 3 matches because messing around and chatting and all that jazz. But we managed to put on a fun little show. We had a little triple threat match with Liam and Johnny, and it was interesting because of course I tried talking to Liam, and nothing had changed. The guy just didn't respond to me, didn't want to talk to my missus. There was nothing there at all. Who else was in that match? Gosh, I've completely forgotten who was in that match. Might have been Alex. Yeah, I think it was Alex Hart, but I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen it. And then we had Google Boy versus Mr. Insano. Because by this point, Ryan, the man behind the K-Bar character, was wrestling professionally, and there was there's such a stigma on backyarding that he just not allowed not allowed to be. So he was Google Boy, and then me and Danny did a really quite brutal match, which was where the promised offense lasted about 2 minutes, and then was 20 minutes of me just getting battered, and then getting a fluke win to win the championship, which again it's just like brilliant. And then that literally was that. A lot of us didn't. I think when we stayed friends on Facebook. But I mean, I still hung out with Dave, and I still hung out with Danny, and I still saw Max. But out of that, I didn't see any. And Ryan, I would see Ryan from time to time. We didn't have any sort of UBW reunion proper for years and years and years after that. Until we did, the idea was mooted that I was going to have a birthday party, and when I moved to the Cotswolds, I was going to have a birthday party, and my girlfriend at the time asked me, "What would you like for your birthday party?" And I was like, "I really want a bouncy castle," because I've never had a bouncy castle before, which turns into talking to the lads and going, "So, just throwing this out there, but if you've got a bouncy castle, you can do wrestling moves, and if you can do wrestling moves, you can do wrestling matches, and if you can do wrestling matches, then why can't we do a show?" Because we had the idea that we were going to do me versus Dave, and that was going to be fun, but then when Ryan came along and said, "Yeah, I'll be up for doing that," we were like, well, if we can do... There's 2 matches we can do straight away, because we can do a number 1 contender match between Dave and Ryan, and I'll referee it, and then whoever wins that can face me, and the loser can referee the main event. Like, oh, it's brilliant. But then, of course, you've also got Dave and Ryan, who played the Freak and Google Boy, respectively. So there's a 3rd match we can do. And then you just go, hang on, so we actually could do a little show here. And if we treat it, and this is what we decided, if we treat it like it's deadly serious, if it's just... It's the bouncy castle is made of steel, sort of thing, like we can play it for laughs, but then if we take in the main event, we take it away from the bouncy castle and do really hardcore, and we're just like, right, so we can do whatever we want because we're in a private dwelling, so we don't have to. If we want to use glass, we can, because we're not going to, because it's a bouncy castle, but we could use barbed wire, for example, and we can do things that we've never even just attempted before. So we used. What did we use? We used barbed wire, never been used. We used black mist that we'd never used. We did big table bumps. We brought a stapler in. I just spent 6 months planning this one match, just thinking like what would work, what wouldn't work. Hey, we've never done this before, so I was able to plan so much bloody brilliant stuff, and just put it all into this one last match, because this is like, right, this is it now. We do not do anything after this, and it was such a blast to do because it's UBW and there's 3 of us doing it. It took 4 hours to film the 4 matches that were on the show, but yeah, it was an absolute blast. And that, to me, it's crazy that I did all those matches back in the day for UBW, but the one that gave me the absolute most satisfaction was me versus Dave, because it felt like it was redemption for the fuck ups that we did at Seasons Beatings. It was a redemption for the fuck up in our redemption match for when I broke him, but most importantly, I got in so much offense. It was 60-40 to me, and I was finally able to turn that switch on in my mind where I could bring character work into the ring. So the more punishment that I took from Dave, the more unhinged I became, and it was glorious. I watched that match back now, and when we're recording this, it was 2 years ago now, and I've got so much pride. It became that's me at my best, and it was just so much fun. And that is where where to me UBW stops, and we don't do it ever again now. There's talk of doing a reunion. There's talk about UBWX because it's 10 years since we did all that, but I really, at first when the reunion idea went down, I was just like, that is a great idea, we should definitely do that. We should all get together. We should, everyone who's up for it, and we should do one last show, and we should maybe do the matches that never happened, or we should do the matches. In my, I was all for let's do the best matches. So let's do Payne versus either Dave or Danny. Let's do Dave versus Magnum. Let's do Pete versus K-Bar. Let's do it. Let's do the Prove It on Retribution taping one more time, just to see what we can do with it. But then it very rapidly became I think it's best left in the past sort of a thing, and I just don't think that I want to do that again. I mean, at this time recording, I'm 37, and it's one of those. Yeah, I don't think I'm capable of doing something like that again, and I don't think I want to do it again. Like I say, I finished that Bounce for Glory match, and I lay there on the bouncy castle, covered in fake blood, and Dave's doing his celebration, and I'm just lying there, and out the corner of my eye, I'm just watching Dave celebrating. I'm just lying there, and I'm like, right, that's a good job on them, sort of thing, you know. I'm just like one of those. I cannot wait to edit that, because I know it's going to look amazing, and it's like For me, there is no way I top it. It's almost like when we did Relentless. It's like we should have just stopped. We should have finished Relentless and gone, right, nothing else. We stop now and we leave the fans wanting more, because that was so good. And I just think when I finished that Bouncy Castle match, that was it. That's, we don't do anything else now. That's it's never ever gonna get as good as that match was.
Talk about Recoil. How did it come to be an idea? What were your plans for it? And why do you think it might not have delivered in the areas you intended it for it to?
So we had the idea, this crazy notion of doing free per-views. They were our monthly shows, and every month we would put on a show. What we wanted in between was to do like our version of a television show, so Raw or SmackDown or Impact or something like that, and we were going to call that Recoil. And Recoil was going to be a few matches and a few promos, and there was going to be 2 Recoils between each free preview, so the feuds had time to grow. And so we would take maybe 2 matches, and they wouldn't be very long or very. Sometimes it'd be just matches that a lot of the time there would be matches that were happening for matches' sake. A great example would be the Recoil after Salvation. We have Max Carnage just coming off the championship win versus the Freak. Match lasts a minute and a half. Freak gets no offense whatsoever. Max Carnage wins with a running power slam. Stuff like that, perfect. It was, that's what it was designed to do. We wanted Recoil to be the place where the feuds are set up, where you get a couple of matches, and especially the BBW UK Championship was going to be primarily on Recoil, and it was a great little idea. Always did decent numbers on the Ning site. Pardon me, can't do that out, can't you? But then something happened where after Domination, then something happened after Domination where it was decided, and I don't think I made this decision, but it was decided that we would have 1 episode of Recoil per taping. So you would get so the time would go up from about a 30-minute show to an hour-long show sometimes. So, but you would get the same amount of matches. It just meant more promos, and as our group didn't like doing promos on the day, which was one of my massive bugbears. So you get promos in people's bedrooms, which I always hated because I always thought they looked rubbish. And Recoil, I think, lost its way a little bit. I mean, there's 14 episodes, and most of them are watchable. We have that kick-ass theme music by Fear Factory. An amazing, just a track that fitted the show beautifully, and the opening package was always really nice. There's some really good stuff out there on Recoil, on the episodes of Recoil. It's just a lot of them are bad, and I think a lot of that is down to 2 men, unfortunately, and that is Craig Wilkes and Christian Sharp, who were our general managers at the start. Christian Sharp was our general manager at the start, and Craig Wilkes took over as general manager after Retribution. So these are 2 men who were brought in because they were mates. So Christian Sharp was a mate of Dave's, and Craig Wilkes was a mate of, I guess he was a friend of Pete's, I guess. Because I knew of Craig, he used to do wrestling reviews, so he was a friend of he was an arm's distance sort of friend. My God, these two were charisma vacuums. They could take an interesting concept and make it boring. And so if they were doing promos where you're trying to get people to be excited and want to see these matches, they could take the delivery and go, I think I'm going to book Extreme Dave versus Champagne in a one-on-one match, and it will be a number one contender match. And you're just watching it back, you're going, God, this is so shit. And maybe it's just me, but I was the general manager. When Christian Sharp decided he didn't want to do it anymore, it was one of those, oh, fuck it, I'll do it. So I'm going to be I'm going to be Champagne, I'm going to be Sir Arthur Hayes doing the commentary, and I'm going to be Sir Arthur Hayes on screen as well. Then I can see why we took the decision for me to not do it anymore, because I think it was too much Mark on the shows. And one of those, that's Sir Arthur Hayes guy, but not look like Champagne and sound the same as Champagne. But cutting a promo is easy for me and effortless. And I like to think that I was able to, to drum up support or drum up interest in the announcements that I made as a general manager. But those two, Christ alive, they made Recall hard work. It's like episodes 12, 13 and 14, where Craig Wilkes is on the majority of the show. There's one episode of Recall, I think it's episode 12, where we get the opening package and then Craig Wilkes talks for 12 minutes. And you sat there going, as a fan of UBW, this must have been a hard slog to get through. Because as a UBW wrestler, I literally just go click and skip the whole thing. Because I'm not interested in the slightest what you have to say. Because your delivery's so bad. So we had good matches on Recall. And Recall was something I was always very proud of. Especially the early ones. Where once we got into our grooves, where we had like the UBW versus RWL matches went down, and the stuff where I challenged Max Carnage was really good, and the way that we had Extreme Day versus Danny first happened on Recall, and Champagne versus Danny Ace first happened on Recall as well. Stuff like that, really, really good. Really, really fun times. I take a lot of pride in Recall in some respects. It's just that after we went down to one per taping, I think it really lost its way. And it could have been something that was so smart and so clever, and it just wasn't, because everything had to go on to Recall in one episode. And so you'd have, I think there are times where the Extreme Dave and Johnny Magnum feud really suffered for it, because you'd have Extreme Dave would cut a promo, you, me, knockout match. Johnny Magnum doesn't respond. And so you just got to assume that it's happening. So whereas before you would have that promo from Dave on Recall 1, and on Recall 2 you have a response from Johnny, maybe a physical interaction between the two of them. No, we just go to Retribution, where we're having a knockout match, or based on one little tiny promo that Dave had cut. I think Recall suffered once we started doing one per taping.
Did you feel like...
Fuck you, Craig Wilkes. Dick.
You know what? I never actually... I'll leave this bit in, because I'll put this in like the car. Where, I never actually had any interaction with either of them. I never spoke to either of them at all. Neither of them spoke to me. Not even a hello, I don't think. I didn't know who they were.
No.
I just remember one of them had glasses and a hat.
That was Christian Job. Craig Wilkes.
Yeah, I had no idea. Before I touch on the 10 years later thing, I just want you to talk a bit about Sir Arthur Hayes. Just speak a bit about how you came up with the Sir Arthur Hayes character, how you got into the commentary and the Joker outfit as well, and what was your vision for that character.
Okay.
By the way, it's raining. It's raining.
Is it?
Not here.
Oh, right, brilliant. Yeah. So, when I did CRCW, my backyard promotion that thought it was the cleverest thing in the world because we did backyard wrestling indoors, I did all the commentary for it, and I needed a name for my character, and I have got a soft spot from and I have got a soft spot for a character from the WWF from the 1980s called Lord Alfred Hayes. He is useless in the extreme when you watch him, but that I found very endearing. So I took the name Sir Arthur Hayes as a direct rip from Lord Alfred Hayes. When BBW was started, it was just a given that I would do the commentary because it's something I like to think I'm good at. And yeah, when Christian Sharp decided he didn't want to be the general manager, it was one of those, well, I'll do it, I suppose. And I wanted to just be like, I wanted to be an eccentric English lord. So my girlfriend's brother had a Joker outfit, and I was just like, why? And it looks like a suit. So I was just like, why wouldn't Sir Arthur Hayes wear a purple suit? Because it's fucking bonkers. And it's another thing that I think me and Peter clashed on, because he was like, that is ridiculous. I was like, yes, that's the fucking point, is that he said everything that comes out of his mouth is straight laced and is, down the barrel. But look at him, he's a fucking idiot, because eccentric people are, the landed gentry in this country, are all mental cases. They're all nuts, they're all eccentric, and they're all doing woo woo woo. So I'm sat in my purple outfit going, this is bloody fantastic. I mentioned before, I think it was too much mark on the show for me to be the general manager and to wrestle as Champagne and do the commentary, because it would be like on commentary. Imagine a match is happening. It's like, so the match happening, and Danny Ace wins, and now I'm going to go over to me in the ring. Yes, it's me. I've got to go to the ring. Back in a second, and the next thing you see is me on screen. So it's like, well, how the hell did he get there from the commentary booth to there? But it's one of those. Yeah, that's a logical step that I don't like. I just wanted I wanted Sir Arthur Hayes to be, in wrestling you sometimes have you'll have a colour guy, a colour commentator, and so he's the good guy, and then have a play-by-play one who's a good guy, and you'll have a nasty it doesn't work. I come up colour and play-by-play. It's colour, yeah. So in wrestling you'll have a play-by-play one who's normally a good guy, and you'll have a colour commentator who's a bad guy. I wanted. If I have to do it on my own, I always wanted Sir Arthur Hayes to be in the side of the good guys. Always, 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 always. And that is how I played it. I played it as straight-laced as he possibly could be. He was always, always on the side of the good guys. And yeah, that's how I played it, always. And I loved it. My favourite part of UBW was when we'd done the taping, and I'd done all of the editing. Is what I would do is I would back then I had a bed in my bedroom where I had. Back then I had a bed that had 2 mattresses on it, so it was really, really high up. And what I'd do is, my favourite part of UBW was when we'd done the tapings, and I'd done all the editing, so I got the footage off everyone and edited all the matches together, and basically the shows would essentially be finished apart from the commentary. Now back at this time I had a bed that had 2 mattresses on it, so it was really, really high. So what I would do is I'd put my laptop on the bed, and I would basically get my microphone, and you can't tell this, I don't think, on any of my commentary, but I would pace up and down. And if I got really excited, I'd jump around, and when the big spots go down, I'm actually jumping around while I'm recording, because I think it makes it feel authentic. And I always try to do stuff in one take, which is why there is the occasional fuck up, like when I call Josh's standing moonshot or standing shooting star press. It's just a legitimate mistake, and I think it sounds like it's being recorded live, if that makes sense. I used to love doing the commentary. It's my favourite thing about wrestling. I got gigs out of I got gigs for real life wrestling companies because of my Sir Arthur Hayes commentary. I got gigs with Great Bear Promotions. I got a gig. I worked for a company called Grand Pro Wrestling for 1 calendar year, and my audition for them was to send them UBW shows. And go, look, this is what I can do for you guys. And I did it for 1 year and got paid for it. I got paid monies to commentate on real wrestling shows because of the enthusiasm that I was able to put into the Sir Arthur Hayes character. My favourite part of UBW by a mile was doing the commentary. I loved being Sir Arthur Hayes. It was fabulous.
10 years on from when UBW disbanded, originally, obviously we're putting together a documentary. We still, all as a group, talk about it. We still love it. What do you think UBW is? What is UBW to you, and how has it stood the test of time? And do you think it will ever go away?
Recording this 10 years later, I am still massively protective over UBW. It's almost like it was my baby. You know, I own all the footage. I've got the footage on a folder on my computer called UBW, and you go into that, and each show is on there. And it's not just that it's each show; it's that it's every bit of raw footage. So if it's Dave versus Johnny, it's Dave versus Johnny 1, Dave versus Johnny 2, or Dave versus Johnny 3 if we were lucky to have the 3 cameras. For some reason I've never been able to bring myself to delete them, because one day, it's one of those, what if you ever need them again? Just one day, stupidly, I deleted all the original commentary a long time ago because I didn't think I'd ever need it again. It's once it had gone onto the show, it's like, why would you ever need it again? But I kept all the old footage. And I still, to this day, will still watch them. I've recently completed putting all the shows up onto YouTube, UBW archive. I've recently completed a little project that I started where I wanted all of the UBW shows on YouTube, and a YouTube channel called the UBW Archive. They've had to be re-edited, believe it or not, to take the entrance music off. But in some respects, what I've actually managed to do is I took an idea that I saw on a PWG show, which is where they have generic music and you don't see the whole of the entrances. They have the entrances on each side of the screen. See both wrestlers coming towards you, so you don't have to have the copyrighted music on. I was like, God, I wish I thought of that back in the day. That's bloody brilliant. So all the wrestling, all the show has had all of its music taken off, and what I've even done is even myself and Dave's musics, it's all gone. And it's crazy because I actually think it makes the shows look slicker. I think it actually makes them look better nowadays. I'm still in contact with the majority of the roster, actually. I still hang out with Danny. Both Danny and Dave were at my wedding, for example, and there's a great picture of us doing the Four Horsemen sign, which, you know, it just makes me laugh every time I see it. Still in contact with Max, and I've got Johnny and Alex Hart and Ryan and loads of guys on Facebook. To this day, I get messages on YouTube about UBW. I get it might only be one a month, but I still, hey, you know, whatever happened to that, or have you got this bit of footage? Oh, I remember that match. I'd like to see that. Still in touch with Dirk. Believe it or not, he sends messages from time to time. I watched this show, for example, which is just fascinating. It's like one of those what you still like that. And I know that if I'm ever feeling low, or if I'm ever in a bad place, or if I just want to put a smile on my face, I can always go and put one of the shows on, because life was a lot simpler back then. You know, I was one of the older statesmen of the group, but life was simple because for one calendar year of my life, UBW took over, and UBW was everything to me. I would wake up at 2 in the morning, and I got to the point where I had to keep a little notepad next to my bed, because I would wake up with it, oh my God, that's the best spot I've ever thought of, and have to write it down. If you watch Salvation, for example, there's a spot where I've got Max Carnage in a single leg crab, and Johnny Madden comes over and hits the Magnemizer, and literally I have to push off Max's leg so that he can hit the Magnemizer on me. And it looks so fucking smart, and it literally came to me the night before in a dream, where I came up with it and was like, oh, I woke up and like, you have to write that down. Told Max about it on the drive to the show. Told Johnny about it when we got there. It literally looks perfect. And if you actually watch it, I've actually got Max in a Boston Crab. I've got both his legs. And at the exact right moment, I'd put one of his legs down so it's easier for me to get Magnemizer. It's one of those, it's brilliant. For 1 year of my life, UBW was everything to me. I would get through work shifts by thinking about UBW. I would think about how much I was looking forward to the tapings. I remember every taping that we did, I would drive home and not say a word. Me and Max Carnage and Danny Ace would come to my house on the Friday night, and we'd watch the previous show, and I'd have a drink and have a smoke, and then Danny would get the train home, and me and Max would drive home, and we normally drive home in utter silence because we were so we got so hyped up about the taping, like, this is going to be fucking great. And then it was just that, you know, when you look forward to something so much, and it happens, and then you're just like, oh, what am I going to do now? And we just drive home and, oh. But then, of course, the process starts the next morning. You know, if you go home and you rest up a bit, you have a Radox bath because you're in so much pain. Next morning, it's sending the footage out to everyone going, because I would always do that on the Sunday morning. I'd upload the footage to whatever file sharing, like SendSpace or something like that, and just send it all out to everyone so that everyone can see it. and then get straight on with the editing process, and just loved all of it. For 1 year, it was everything to me. It was my favourite thing, and I think the reason that I can still talk about it with so much passion and so much enthusiasm is because it just consumed me completely. And like I said a moment ago, I'm very, very protective of it. I do not like people criticising it. The only people who are allowed to criticise it were the people who are involved. Anyway, as an audience member, looking inwards, you are not allowed to take the mickey out of it. I just won't let it. It's mine. It's my baby, and it's just something I'm so bloody proud of, because if you ever see backyard wrestling today, the kids these days, they can build, there's instructions online to build a ring. It's dead easy to do, and you just go, well, I have even considered that, because we're coming from all over the country, we didn't have that luxury, and it's just the fact that we're sat talking right now, that you're watching me now, is bloody brilliant. I love it. Because it means that you were watching this. You were either a roster member or you're an audience member, or if you watched one match of UBW and you enjoyed it. If I getting the shit kicked out of myself made you smile, that made me happy, and that means I did my job properly. Really did take over.
Looking forward now, would you, if it could start again, maybe not as just a one-off show, if it could start again and be everything that you wanted it to be, would you ever have it back? And if not, why not?
Got a good way of answering that. One of the things I later found out, so UBW, we did One Last Dance in 2011, and we did One Last Dance in the spring of 2011. What I found out in the summer of 2011 is that where we were in Preston had 3 very, very, very good wrestling schools nearby. You had the Future Shock Training School in Manchester, for example, and you had the GPW show. You had the Future Shock Training School in Manchester, for example, and you had the GPW training school. They were in Wigan, which was 20-minute drive away from Preston. And if I'm ever asked, would you do it again, it would be if I could, I would take that core group of wrestlers, so myself and Danny and Max, Dave, Johnny, Liam, I suppose, Pete, Ryan, Crusher J, Alex Hart, Rye, and I would make it so that instead of going and kicking the shit out of each other in Preston, we would do wrestling training together. That way, we would be able to do it for real, if you want to call it that. Imagine the great matches that we put on in UBW, but we're doing them in an actual real ring. Because that was always, that to me would have just been the icing on the cake. To put on a UBW show, but with a ring, would be just I think that's the only way I'd ever really want to do it again as well, is if somehow I won the lottery and was able to hire a hall and to hire a ring and hire, anything that you could possibly want, so I could, we could put on one last show and it would be a proper real wrestling show. Doesn't have to have an audience. It doesn't matter if I was an audience if I'm not a millionaire, does it? It's just, that's the only way I'd do it again. So we go and get trained. We all go and get trained and we do it properly. So that way, that's the only way I'd ever do it again, I think.
Very quickly, talk about how Preston was the location. How did you guys arrive on Preston? And because you were in a different area beforehand, so going back to the genesis of BBW, how did it come to Preston, and what did you think of that location?
So when BBW started, we decided that what the fairest way to do it, where we got regarding tapings, when BBW started, we decided we would tape at different locations each show. So we would tape at the roster members' nearest park, shall we say. So that way it's not, so we're not all going to one place each time, so it's not, so because we felt that would be unfair to the roster members. So the first show was taped in Keighley, for example, which is where Pete lived. The second show was taped in Stoke-on-Trent, where I lived. The third show was meant to be taped in Sheffield, and UW Relentless was taped in Sheffield. And then when Johnny Magnum and Liam Styles came on board, we were meant to be going to Whitehaven, which is where they lived. And unfortunately, Whitehaven is a dot in the middle of nowhere and not an easy place to get to. So we took a look on the map and sort of imagined we could do like connect the dots. So Whitehaven's here, Keighley's here, Sheffield's here, Leicester, where Danny was at university's here, and then swing it around to Stoke-on-Trent. So do those and find a centre point. And we were just looking at a map one day, I think it was probably me, and just went, you know, I think Preston's the place to go because it's got a massive train station, if nothing else, so it's easy to get to on the train. Because I was the only one who drove, as far as I can tell. So everyone else will be coming on the train. So I had a look on the map of Preston, and one thing that struck me is that within a 5-minute walk from Preston train station was this incredible looking park called Avonham Park. And so we were like, right, let's go there. And we just got so lucky when we did the Salvation taping. We all met up at the train station, walked around the corner to Avonham Park, and we went into the park, turned around the corner, and there was this one bit of big clump of trees, and we were just like, so what's around the back of there? And what was around the back of there was a set of steps that walked down, so we could, and then there was a nice little slope and then a flat area, and was like, so we can use that bit as an entrance ramp, and we can have our tarp set up here. And it was like serendipitous. It was meant to be. It was one of those, that is bloody perfect. That is absolutely spot on what we need. So it was agreed that from now on, we go from literally, we did every taping bar that one where we were meant to be doing a tournament, and where we did it at Keighley again. Every other show was taped in Preston at Avonham Park, and it became home to us, and it was great. It was brilliant. I would actually really like to go back and just have a look at it and see what it looks like now, to be honest. But yeah, it was home to us, and it just the way the trees were. I remember that so clearly when we went to do the when we did the Redemption taping, and it was just one of those. But they've cut all our trees down, and it was just like, oh God, I want to find someone new, and that was horrible. Having where we changed with Redemption taping and Addiction taping were in the wrong place. You know what I mean? But those shows, you know,